This week on the show, the explosive events surrounding the SAG strike, OpenAI's for-profit pivot, and the latest DC cinematic sensations. All that and more on this week's Nerd It Here Weekly. Bruno, do the thing.
We're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
This better not awaken anything in me.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
We have Santa Claus. Assemble.
Welcome to Nerd It Here Weekly, the weekly news show about the top nerdy events in entertainment news. I'm Riley Trahan, Senior Entertainment Editor at Nerd It Here First, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Deepak Chitness.
Fully adieu.
Fred Neighbor.
I mean, I hope I'm here. I really do. I don't know if this is going to work for me.
And Nepo Baby, but not in the way you're thinking, Jackson Trahan.
Wait, what?
What way were we thinking?
Well, because we were brothers and he's on the show, so that was the implication.
Oh, I see. No, that's fair.
There's another darker way that we won't discuss today.
The definition of a Nepo baby. That's exactly what it's thinking.
All right. This week on the show, we are talking about the teaser trailer release for The Last of Us. Also, we're going to be checking in on the SAG strike against the video game industry and doing a deep dive on all the new DC Universe projects, including Lady Gaga's Harlequin album and Deepak's early screening of Joker Folie à Deux. But first, we want to thank everybody for checking out the show. If you like what we do here, we want to remind you that you can head to NIHF.com and subscribe for free to get all of our content sent to your inbox. Or if it's more your style, you can head to youtube.com/nerditherefirst and hit the subscribe button there. So we'll always be showing up in your algorithm. Either way, you're sure not to miss anything that we do. Plus, if you want things like Deepak's quick react video to seeing the new Joker film even, or...
It was a video.
It was a long video. Or if you want our top picks for everything coming out in October, we want you to head over to the socials. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Twitter still, at least for now. Letterboxd, at Nerd It Here First, everywhere you can find us. So make sure you check us out there. And one more thing before you go, make sure you're listening to Put It on the Table. Bruno and Sterling are out there doing tabletop board games and such, talking about systems, making new characters, figuring out how everything works. Also, make sure that you are checking out Two for the Show, our movie review show, which might hypothetically have a Joker episode coming up if Deepak and I decide that we want to do a deep dive on Joker, and if I recover from whatever bug has my voice sounding so bad right now. With all that said, let's get to the news. All right, guys. We haven't rounded up the headlines in a while. I got them roped in. First up, The Last of Us Season 2 will premiere in 2025. HBO released the first teaser for The Last of Us Season 2, accompanied by 3 new posters on September 26th, the day that the in-game virus outbreak took over. Season 2 is going to introduce new characters, including Abby, Dina, and Jesse, alongside the returns of Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, and Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey. This season is set 5 years after Season 1, where Joel and Ellie face new conflicts, both in their relationship and the more dangerous world. Of course, we all remember that the first season was HBO's most-watched debut season, got 8 Emmy nominations, including Best Drama. Jack, what can we expect from Season 2?
Yeah, so The Last of Us is a famously cheerful story. Everything goes right for everyone at every turn.
Zero conflict.
Yeah, if you watch Season 1, I think you can agree that it ended in a really cool place where everybody made a lot of agreeable decisions that weren't likely to cause conflict in the near future. It's a little tricky because... The second game in the Last of Us video game series is quite contentious, and so I am interested in how, if in any ways, it might deviate from the story of the games stronger than the first season did. But in general, it won't be dramatically different from the first season, and you can still expect a tremendous amount of sadness and violence and everything that you would have come to love and expect from the show.
I'm
Fred,
curious to see how much. Oh, sorry. I guess we're
no,
jumping
take it,
in.
run. Yep.
No, I'm just curious to see how much we'll actually see of Pedro Pascal in the new season.
Well, yeah, indeed. Not to
Not to
spoil the second game
I-
or indeed this story, but it might not be a lot.
Heard he wrapped
I
early.
don't know that we know this, but I think they've said they're splitting it into 2 seasons.
Oh.
So I would imagine the big event is the finale of the season.
Sure, that would make sense.
Okay.
I will say that's the thing that jumped out at me most was setting the second season 5 years after the first one. I mean, we'll sort of talk around it. I'm sure people can sort of guess, but we won't be the official home of a spoiler for a thing that's not out yet just yet. If we decide to, we'll throw up a buzzer or something. But any really specific internal conflict between Joel and Ellie about the finale, you know, I was surprised to see that 5-year distance between season 1 and season 2, because I really thought they were going to let them simmer a little bit more in that sort of post finale animosity. But yeah, so Fred, I'm curious what you make of that decision to sort of pivot the timeline a little bit. And yeah, to Jack's point, you know, we like to complain all the time that there are people out there who just hate things. But do you think that that backlash is going to make it more likely that we'll see season 2 change all that much?
I can see a couple narrative things changing, just as in terms of what Ellie might do, or her motivations might be a little bit different. I feel like she spends so much of the time becoming Joel, and it's like a really weird thing to get her off of that. And I think people had some legitimate criticisms about Last of Us season 2 or Last of Us 2. And I think a lot of that was like people had a lot of legitimate criticism and a lot of illegitimate criticism. And I think it's important to listen to legitimate criticism and make narrative changes where they make sense, and to just give middle fingers to illegitimate criticism, because that's more fun.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Speaking of legitimate criticism, Deadpool and Wolverine has set an awards campaign plan into motion. Disney is pushing Deadpool and Wolverine for major awards consideration, with Ryan Reynolds in the Best Actor for a Comedy or Musical category and Hugh Jackman positioned in the Supporting Actor race for key awards at things like the Globes, the SAG Awards, and one assumes the Oscars. The film is expected to be a strong contender for the Globes, and specifically the Box Office Achievement category, which recognized Barbie last year. Deepak, you had some insight into this sort of just being a, don't forget our special effects sort of a narrative. Where's your head at with the Deadpool Wolverine Oscars race?
Yeah, every movie that wants to be considered for an award needs to launch a campaign, even if it's like a token moonshot kind of thing, to get it out there so people know, oh yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine, let's put it in for sound, visual effects, whatever it may be. I do think you're right that it's more of a Golden Globes SAG type of thing. I believe Reynolds was nominated for the first Deadpool, so it's not totally unprecedented. It's not going to manifest into anything, I think, as far as the major awards, whether that be Oscars, BAFTA. I don't even think SAG will do much with it, except for maybe the stunt award. SAG does have stunts, remember that. And then again, even whatever it does get nominated for at a technical level, I think Dune is going to sweep those up again, whether it's via visual effects, sound, even production design or costume. So I wouldn't put too much stock in it, but it's nice to see Marvel going all out as far as supporting the movie. There was a time when we didn't think Deadpool would work in the MCU, or that if he did, he wouldn't be R-rated. So to get the movie we got, and for it to have been as good as it is and as well received both critically and financially, is a good thing. And I think it's a shoo-in for the Box Office Achievement Award, again, unless Dune or something else comes up in the next couple months that steals the momentum away from it. But I don't think that'll happen unless Gladiator 2 ends up being surprisingly robust.
I think Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman is just like such Hollywood darlings at this point too. I could see the Oscars wanting to showcase them a little bit more, just to buzz up people watch the thing.
I've heard rumors that they are being courted to host the Oscars. And Jackman has hosted in the past, I think, solo.
Yes.
So that would be fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you, I think that your analysis is correct, that the actual acting stuff, there's probably not that much room for them. I do see them in sort of a Barbie adjacent, look at all the money you got award, a thing that I still don't understand why it exists, because isn't that what the money's for? As the great Don Draper once said. Are there any places, Deepak, where you see this movie legitimately taking a shot at a prestigious or a high-level award at any of the ceremonies?
Honestly, no, because if Jackman could not get into the conversation for Logan, where it was really deserved and really did have some momentum, I don't see how it could happen here. And there's no, I mean, this has already happened a couple times where we thought we were seeing him for the last time. So if they were to do it as sort of a culmination career achievement sort of thing, they would have done it by now. So I mean, maybe Reynolds has a chance at the Golden Globe if we think that this is the last time we're seeing Deadpool because it's the third one. But that may be about it. I do think it could get some technical nominations, like I said, but I don't see it winning those. So,
well, speaking of Marvel, there was an announcement this week that Blue Bolt is coming to the West Coast Avengers. So, for those of you who aren't in the know, Marvel is launching a new West Coast Avengers series in November, written by Gary Dugan and illustrated by Danny Kim, featuring the team led by Iron Man with Spider-Woman, War Machine, Firestar, a redeemed Ultron, and new member Blue Bolt. So Blue Bolt, who's really called Chad Braxton, is a former villain with lightning-based abilities who is joining the Avengers through a sort of prison release program. Doesn't sound like any other Marvel synergy we're aware of. His reckless and abrasive personality challenges the team's cohesion. And Dugan has hinted that Blue Bolt is one of the most difficult and narcissistic characters the Avengers have encountered, joining the team purely to reduce his prison sentence. So I think I kind of wanted to extend the conversation out into two different prongs here. One, are you guys interested in picking up West Coast Avengers now that it will be featuring Blue Bolt? And number two, what do you think the role of Sentry is going to be in Thunderbolts Asterisk?
I'll take the second one because I mean the first one, yeah, I'm interested. If I can find it, I'll probably pick it up. The role of Sentry seems to be akin to the MacGuffin that the movie starts out with until it turns out there's a bigger MacGuffin that they need to deal with.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Sort of think he's going to be a reckless and abrasive personality who challenges the team's cohesion because he's only joining it to be purely to reduce his prison sentence. That's kind of what
Isn't that the case for pretty much all of them? Isn't that the point of the Thunderbolts? It's, Suicide Squad Light.
It does seem like it's sort of teeing up to be Suicide Squad Light, though, right? But I was thinking about this when you were talking through, and apologies to our Misophonic listeners for the mouth noises. I'm going to get this cough drop down, and then you won't have to deal with it anymore, I promise.
Ellie is sick. You'll have to.
Yeah, I'm powering through, baby. I was thinking today a little bit about the whole Thunderbolt situation as it pertains to the West Coast Avengers comic book.
Yeah.
And this is a thing we've been kicking around the internal comics for a while now. The more I think about it, the more I think Thunderbolts Asterisk this is an Avengers team, right? This is not the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts are Red Hulk and Doctor Strange and Deadpool and Black Widow, right? These are the West Coast Avengers or the Dark Avengers or the Secret Avengers or something else. And the reason that really landed for me this week as I was kicking it around is because I think Deadpool and Wolverine was successful enough that if this was supposed to be your Suicide Squad movie, you would make it rated R, right? Like I think Deadpool had enough success that Kevin Feige would not be scared of making a Suicide Squad comp an R-rated film. The fact that he's not really makes me feel like this is an Avengers movie, and that this group of characters will be one of the teams of Avengers that need to fight up when Robert dons his Doom uniform later on or whatever. So yeah,
I could see that, and I think we had a conversation about them moving towards West Coast Avengers with some of the other stuff, and then they've obviously teased Young Avengers with Kate Bishop and Kamala and all of those, or Kamala Khan. I'm saying it like Kamala Harris.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, that tracks, and I just don't know if Feige's going to jump into doing R-rated stuff just because of Deadpool. I feel like Deadpool lent itself to it so well. It's the same way that we finally got a good multiverse movie because Deadpool and Wolverine lent itself to being kind of Fox-centric. I think, I hope, I don't know if I think, but I hope they're saving the R-rated stuff for when it really counts. Like if we ever get Blade or if we ever get like a Midnight Suns movie, something like that.
Yeah, I think you guys know your comic book stuff better than I do. My only real 2 cents on this is I feel like movies often try to introduce characters as like a bad guy doing like good hero stuff. Yeah. And I don't think it goes well very often, or at least not convincingly. Like it goes fine. And the movies.
You didn't like Black Adam?
Hey.
No, actually I heard Black Adam did better than all the other DC movies.
Change the balance of power.
You did.
So,
There's no power.
I mean, like, yeah, sure. We'll see how it goes. But it's not always super convincing that this very heroic character is actually a bad guy.
Yeah, I hear you. We'll see. I'm curious to figure out what that movie is on about. Anyway, Blue Bolt, I'm excited. Next up, pour one out, charge your glass, be upstanding, and all the rest. Dame Maggie Smith passed away at age 98. Dame Maggie Smith was known for her iconic roles in Harry Potter and Downton Abbey. She passed away at the age of 89, with tributes pouring in from King Charles, Prime Minister, and co-stars who remembered her as a national treasure and a legendary actress. Her 8-decade career earned her 2 Oscars, numerous BAFTAs, and widespread admiration for her sharp wit, fierce intellect, and ability to excel in both comedic and dramatic roles. Smith's family confirmed her peaceful passing in the hospital, thanking the staff for their care and remembering her as a private person, beloved by her family and grandchildren. Guys, I think we all have Maggie Smith roles that we have really loved over the years. I think the obvious low-hanging fruit here for all of us is that we sort of came up amongst the Harry Potter generation. So her role as Minerva McGonagall was obviously iconic. Her acerbic wit on talk shows and her hilarious, like cold stares she would issue on Downton Abbey were always some of the most enjoyable things for me to see. But what do you guys want to just shout out to our audience who are, remembering Maggie Smith this week?
About a year or 2 ago, I remember watching an old Rex Harrison movie called The Honey Pot, in which she plays a pretty crucial role. It's a movie where he calls a bunch of his former wives and mistresses together to kind of play a game with them to see who will get his inheritance, and she's one of their secretaries who is kind of secretly undercutting all of this with the help of Cliff Robertson, who is Uncle Ben in the original Spider-Man movies. And that's a lot of fun. I also, just this weekend, came across a video of her on oh my god, I'm forgetting the name of the show. She's teaching the host how to do a Cockney accent, and she does it in song, and I'm totally blanking on.
Is it Graham Norton? It feels like a Graham Norton show.
No. It's from the 70s. It's she's in the most recent season of Better Call Saul as the old woman. It's not Tracy Ullman. It's someone like that. I'm totally blanking now. Anyways, she was very talented, and rest in peace. And her son is the actor who plays Gustav Graves in Die Another Day, and I'm also blanking on his name. Yeah.
My favorite thing of her is actually not a role she played. There's a clip of her just roasting the shit out of Dame Judi Dench. And it's so funny. Being like, yeah, there's an older English role. There's a role for an old English woman in America, and my agent says not to get it because you will. And it's just her teasing Judi Dench this whole way through. There's one other woman there, and I don't remember the name, but she's also very famous. Yeah. But it's so funny.
See if we can find a cameo Jude hasn't got her paws on.
Yes.
The talk show I was remembering is the Carol Burnett show.
Was it Carol Burnett? Okay, I was doing Googling, and I was like, well, Deepak would remember Carol Burnett. Yes, okay. Yes, and Fred, I've seen that clip a lot since she passed, especially, and that is fantastic. Jackson, did you have a Maggie Smith thing you want to do a shout out?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out, actually. My clip was from Graham Norton show, and it is not of Maggie Smith. It's actually of Ian McKellen talking about going to the Oscars, and while he was walking up on the red carpet, he sees Maggie Smith, and she asks him what he's wearing, and he mentions that one of the things he's wearing is like a Lucky Charm. And then at the end of the night, in his words, after everyone else has won the Oscar except for you, you see Maggie Smith, and she points at your Lucky Charm and goes, didn't work.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had seen a Norton clip circling that I really enjoyed, where she said that a kid came up to her after the first Harry Potter movie and asked if she had really been a cat, and she just heard herself saying, "How could I have been? Get yourself together." Yeah, she was so funny.
Such an Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi response.
Yeah. She is so funny. She will be greatly missed. And fortunately for all of us, her many, many roles will live forever. To pick our spirits up a little bit and laugh at an old man, Deepak and I were passing around a piece of evolving news this last week, as it turns out that John Carpenter, famed horror director, didn't actually join Letterboxd. So Fred, Jack, I assume you guys weren't following the story as much just because it was pretty deep movie Twitter stuff.
Letterbox, what is that thing?
Oh, it's where you can follow Nerd It Here first.
It's the aspect ratio for certain movies.
No, it was a seamless plug, Deepak, and you dropped it. It's where you can follow Nerd It Here first for all of our movie reviews. It's a social media platform where a fake account was humorously praising Carpenter classics like Halloween and The Thing, while also sharing scathing reviews of other films, including a particularly harsh critique of Memoirs of the Invisible Man, a John Carpenter film that starred the rather unlike Chevy Chase. So for anyone who doesn't know, Carpenter shifted his focus to music and getting high and playing video games and away from movies in 2010. He has been lightly involved with Blumhouse in the new Halloween trilogy, and he has an unscripted horror anthology series for Peacock that he's been doing. But it turns out he was not the one behind this account that was called John Carpenter. So, he shared something on Twitter, I think, saying, "What the hell is a Letterboxd?" It was disappointing because, Deepak, I mean, you can back me up here.
Sounds like the perfect cover.
Well, they did sound like him. I mean,
he was being like very brutally honest about stuff that sounded like he would be brutally honest about. I sent it to Riley with the caveat that this may not actually be him, but it's still funny regardless.
And that's what
and here we are talking about.
I had already seen all the other ones and was really hoping it was him, but turns out it wasn't the case. But so there you go. We like to get away from disinformation out there when we can. The actual news is it was funny that it wasn't him. Would have been funnier if it was him, but so it goes. All right. We are going to take a quick break, mostly for me to rehydrate my raspy ass voice. And when we get back, we're going to talk about why the SAG Actors Union is continuing to strike the video game industry. We'll be right back. And we're back. Our first main story this week comes from Sherwood News. We want to encourage folks to head over to sherwood.news, where you can find a ton of heavy quantitative style business analysis. I've got a couple pieces over there as well, so I like to plug when I can. Friend of the show, Walt Hickey, is employed over there and helps to run the news desk, so we always like to remind you it's a good source of news. And this week, you're telling us about the SAG strike. So here's the top line. The ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike against video game studios centers on the use of AI, with performers fearing that studios may replicate their voices and movement without compensation or consent. Video game companies, including Amazon Games and others like Take-Two and EA, have expressed disappointment with the strike, claiming they've made significant progress on AI-related protections and wage increases. So, Jackson, I don't see what the problem is.
Thrilled about the strike?
It sounds like
before we get into it, can I interject just a quick minute? Because I've been away for so long and I come back and we're talking about another SAG strike.
Yeah, this is a different strike. They're
I mean, it sounds like a legitimate one. Like I said, legitimate concerns, but oh god,
as opposed to the illegitimate previous one.
Time is a flat.
Well, and that's the thing. It's largely. They're very similar issues compared to the actors union strike and the writers strike, frankly. I mean, the lack of legal precedent and regulation in this space is rampant, and people are starting to recognize that it could be problematic to their lifestyles.
Yeah, so we should have rules about AI. If all the industries could figure this out together and realize that it's a problem, that would be fun. But we have to have a strike in each individual one. That's okay.
Well, and once the precedent was established, once the writers got what they wanted or what they considered fair, I think that.
No, yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I'm delegitimizing the claim here, because I do think it's a fair claim. It's just
Well, and one of the things.
The other
no, go ahead, Deepak.
Well, I was going to say the other concern is that even with the actor strike, and I think the writer strike as well, the deals that they struck are not as long as the typical deals are. So it's really more of a stopgap deal that they'll have to renegotiate in about 3 years. So this is going to continue to crop up, and it's probably going to keep cropping up at a more frequent rate than we're used to seeing. So yeah, a resolution now does not really solve anything for an extended period of time.
It's also, though, got to get resolved quickly, because one of the interesting angles on this game that I hadn't really realized until I was reading this most recent story is that the strike has escalated to include games like League of Legends, which had previously been exempt due to its older contract. And the impact of that is that live service games are going to start facing serious delays, and that's going to impact publisher revenue. Right. So the fact that this is now starting to come for live service games, Jack, you could speak a little bit more informed about those sorts of service game types than I can. But it seems to me like it's going to actually cause people to come to the table for genuine bartering, and not just kind of, what are you talking about? We fixed it.
Yeah, well, with live service in particular, it is a different, like you said, the business model focuses more on generating revenue like over time continually. So if they can't push updates, that is going to, players are going to funnel off from it, and that will cause a more immediate problem than the, delaying a hypothetical future release by a week or a month or a year or whatever you would have to do,
right? Which
they can probably figure out.
Yeah.
So I do think that's going to put a lot more pressure on at least some companies, but that is also a very small subset of the whole of the video game industry.
Fred, the live service games were already having an issue in the EU. There's the whole new petition thing going around for them specifically.
And when we've talked more and more about how companies are pursuing the notion of games as a service to try and find that like golden, that holy grail of forever game, right? The thing that you will pick up and you will never put down again. This seems like it is a serious point of concern for developers who think they have a forever game on their hands. If that service is disrupted for even a little while, it seems like suddenly your industry might not be what you thought it was.
No, yeah, I mean, certainly. I feel like live service in particular, you're just kind of like, you have to continuously find ways to get players back into the game, right? Like it's just very difficult.
You always need new content.
Yeah, it's very difficult to hold a player base for months on end, and like they just have to have that turnaround. And if anything like this that messes that up, all of a sudden you're gonna have people stop playing Destiny for a few months and then forget about it and not come back.
That's a perfect example. I was gonna ask, Fred, could you talk us through what makes a game like Destiny or League of Legends or any other example that you choose to use a live service game? Like, what does that mean when a person is playing it, and how could these sorts of production delays impact the quality of the game?
Well, to be fair, I've never played League, so I don't actually know how that.
No, yeah, Destiny's fine. I just didn't know. I didn't know if you had some Mass Effect thing you were going to want to use or something, so I wanted to leave it open for you.
Well, Mass Effect was not live service, but if we want to talk about Mass Effect, I'm happy to segue into Mass Effect. And since you brought it up, as far as Destiny goes, it's essentially just a game that you continuously get people to play. There's kind of routine content releases and updated the story missions. It's typically multiplayer, and so you'll have things like PvP and PvE. Not always, every game is different, but that's a pretty normal thing to have. You're just constant updates and new gear for a person to get, new weapons for a person to get. That's as when it comes to Destiny. But you're just continuously bringing in new things for the player to continuously improve on, or just having a reason to come back every time. It's the gameplay itself.
So it's like a Fortnite kind of thing?
Not Fortnite, maybe, because there's like a skin, kind of like a season pass progression system.
Yeah.
I would
Fortnite
say
is superficially different, but you got there.
Like, what's that Animal Farm one you guys were playing a couple years ago? Animal Crossing.
Not like Animal Crossing.
No, Animal Crossing
is a game you're supposed to play every day. That's a different
so like, Fred, you've played more Destiny than I have, but when we've talked, and by the way, don't worry, you'll have pop culture recommendations at the end. You'll have plenty of time to talk Space Marines. When we've talked about Destiny in the past, one of the things that you've said is like you really hit a stride where you started figuring out like every week this game is going to have new objectives, new missions, new places to pick things up. and that sort of started to build out a long form story that you as the player sort of would slot yourself into, and every week you were expecting those new things to go up. Are those the types of things that would be impacted if suddenly you didn't have voice actors? We'll talk about them in a minute, but mocap performers, those sorts of things. Jack's nodding an enthusiastic yes. Jack, feel free to if you want. But.
So
I just like your shouting out of an underappreciated art form.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how much work the company did ahead of time. I would say, depending on how long the strike goes on, you could definitely push back releases and things like that. As far as Destiny had full-on cutscenes and things like that, and they had voice lines and like that would be affected, but depending on how long that has already been prepared.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it'd be affected, maybe it wouldn't be. If this goes on for a while, it definitely could be.
Sure. It is the type of thing we could be looking at, though.
It's potentially an issue, but I would like to think that most of the stuff is done far enough in advance for them to like work with it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Deepak, one of the things I wanted to mention to you specifically about the Actors Guild end of it all is that SAG performers are concerned that lack of AI guardrails, especially in relation to motion capture actors whose work may be unrecognizable in game but are essential to character movements and animation, that those things are going to be easily replaced by AI. SAG is pushing for regulations to prevent AI from being used to replace performers, pointing to recent legislation in California that supports performer consent and prohibits using AI likenesses without permission. This is also sort of something that we were talking about a little bit around the death of James Earl Jones, may he rest in power, donating his voice in perpetuity to the Disney company to be generative AI Vader. But at least in that instance, it was a thing that he, the actor, wanted. Can you talk about how the companies might be able to abuse these rights, these AI, platforms in order to do something that the actors themselves might not have signed off on, and what impact that could have on the profession?
Yeah, this is really analogous to what was happening with the previous SAG strike, which is where the actors who are normally extras or background actors were concerned that they would be paid $200 for a day's work, and it would just be replicated ad nauseum for every sequel to a movie or every new season of a movie. All the Last of Us zombies are going to be just replicated versions of the guys who were scanned for the first season. So the same thing will happen here. Background actors you can get a million different movements, and once you get them all into a computer at a certain point, you don't need the actors anymore because you have the assets, you have the wireframes of their original motion. All you have to do is flop it, and you get it from the reverse angle, or you can manipulate it and do whatever you want with it, put a different skin, put a different gender, put different clothes. You get new sim games for the rest of your life, and you don't have to hire a single human actor to do anything with it. That's really what the concern is, because that's how people make a living, and if you don't need them anymore, then there goes their livelihood. So it's a valid concern. The California bill that Gavin Newsom signed in, I think this week as of this recording, is something to be applauded, something that other states really need to take a look at closely. Obviously, a lot of production happens in Georgia and Atlanta now, plus throughout the South and even up into New York, where there's a lot of work that gets done, but it really maybe should be done at a federal level as well.
Jackson, generative AI is already being used in video game development, I believe, and some artists are reportedly being forced to use AI for efficiency. Can you speak to the numerous ways in which that has made the life of a video game programmer easier and more stress-free and happy, and not at all being shit on by their boss to do more with less?
Yeah, I mean, crunch time is a pretty famous problem in the game industry. And so, it is not as if increasing efficiency means that you have less work that you have to do.
It just means we have to hire fewer people to do it.
or that, even better. Yeah, so I also, it's not like ideal for obvious reasons that people feel compelled to use these tools if they do not want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it all is terrible. This is why the strike is happening, which is good, but
well,
I
was just going to say, I'm interested in noting the fact that it is a strike that is being led from the performer talent side, right? But it seems to be the thing that will also redound negatively towards the folks in the cubicles coding the game as well.
No, that's a fine point. I mean, it is, like I said, I think a lot of this started up from the successful writers and actors negotiations. And so I think that they have more of a plan for what they want to see and more leverage in arguing that it's achievable. But because AI does touch so many different things, it is certainly any regulation in one aspect will probably affect all of them.
Be interesting to see if we could get a video game voice actor or mocap performer on the show to take us a little more in depth into it. We know some folks in that space. We might be able to make that happen. My last question, Jack, is for you, and then I'll kind of just open it up if anybody has any final thoughts or anything on this topic. But video game studios view AI as a cost-saving tool for faster production, and performers argue that it poses an existential risk to their livelihood, and that's why they're seeking these safeguards and to protect their contributions to the industry. Right? It seems inevitable that the solution is sort of going to be in the middle of those two things, right? Like, as much as we would all love, and I know that we would, to trumpet the protection for workers, it seems, I would love a deal that gets workers every single thing they want and tells their corporate lords to go climb a tree. I just don't see that being the most likely outcome. Can you sort of give us a sense of what might be some like middle paths that we could travel here, right? That would both maybe help make the production of a game easier, but also protect the voice actors, the mocap performers, all that stuff.
Yeah. Let me just fix AI real quick.
Yeah, please. We're going to ask you to do that more in the mini in a second anyway. So
love that. I mean, like I said, I think one of the biggest issues, I think, is the idea that these digital recreations could like put these people out of work in the future in like a more permanent way, and in a way where they are not compensated for any of the revenue that is generated from those digital actors that would not exist without their personhoods to mimic.
Yeah.
And I think that is unethical. So certainly at the very least finding some, I don't know what the perfect solution is. If it is that they are allowed to make these digital actors, but still have to pay the regular actors for whatever time they use them for, or if it is that they are not allowed, or they have to get permission from the actors on a case-by-case basis. I think securing the profession of acting as like a thing that people can do, which it's already pretty iffy on that front, is maybe a good lens to sort of view any actionable change from.
Yeah. I think that's probably fair. Let me ask Fred, any final thoughts on the video game side, or Deepak from the like actors side? Anything that you guys just see as sort of being the big hurdles to cross, or the important things you want to keep an eye on here in this story?
I think the real major hurdle is going to be, like I said, the fact that the technology is evolving so quickly and we still don't know what we don't know. These are going to be short-term deals that keep becoming an issue every few years as there's a new set of challenges that need to be addressed. And I don't know that we're ever going to reach a point where there's a single piece of legislation or a single deal that really takes care of everything and all the concerns that the actors and the talent have. So this is going to keep being an issue going forward, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, as far as video games are concerned, right? Like, I don't want to say that AI is the absolute devil, because I do think that AI could, in fact, make a lot of programmers not have to face the crunch time that video games become so famous for. So I think there's real potential here to improve workers' lives, and I think that's great, and I think that should be explored. How to do that without firing half your workforce and making the others use AI to do it for them, I don't know. And I think it's going to take much smarter people than me to figure that one out. But I do think there is some potential here to make people's lives better. I think AI is always capable of doing that. It's just got to be done responsibly.
Yeah. All right. We'll keep an eye on this story and report back as we hear more. We're going to throw to a quick break. And when we get back, OpenAI shifts away from their non-profit model. Surely that can't mean something terrible is coming. And we're back. All right. So, Jackson, you brought to all of our attention this week a story that I pulled a link on Vox from, because Vox true to their sort of founding nature, unlike OpenAI, has always helped me to understand some of these more complex stories more. But the story at hand is that OpenAI, which was originally founded as a nonprofit focused on AI safety, has transitioned into a full-fledged for-profit business corporation with CEO Sam Altman gaining control and equity worth billions. It seems to me like the shift marks a significant departure from OpenAI's initial safety first and nonprofit goals, signaling a prioritization of profits over its founding values. But maybe you can tell me why I'm wrong and why I don't need to climb up on that big wall so I can protect us all from the robot apocalypse.
Yeah, okay. So OpenAI started indeed as an academic research organization more than anything. There are a number of papers that you can find that look like boring academic papers that were written by OpenAI. A lot of these talk about technologies that are now their flagship products. Flagship product, they really only have the one. So how did this happen? So this has been a sort of slow transition that they've been trying to work through for a long time. When ChatGPT released, they announced that they were transitioning from being purely a nonprofit and research organization to having a for-profit branch, which was headed by Sam here. Since then, basically everybody who was foundational to that research organization has left, including the last two people, sort of mysteriously a few weeks ago. I think we can tell why now.
Was one of those the CTO, Mira Murati?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I noticed that.
The last to go.
Yeah.
So now it's just Sam. And OpenAI has, to be fair, from day one, been very clear that their goal as a company has been to produce artificial general intelligence, which was kind of cute and fun when they were a nonprofit academic research organization. But this move makes it seem like that's a much more serious thing that they think they can do. I don't know if I'm convinced that they can do it, but to be fair, I haven't seen the bottom of any of the graphs that they've produced yet. So who knows what they have internally.
I think we saw the writing on the wall here like a year ago, right? When there was a lot of internal kerfuffle there. Sam Altman was ousted. Microsoft brought him back.
Yeah.
And I think Microsoft's insistence on keeping OpenAI in the family, and more specifically keeping Altman in the family,
Right.
Microsoft's not going to do that unless there's money to be made. So I think this was a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, that's fair.
This could be an interesting thing. Like, I'm wondering if AI has become like the patented seeds of Monsanto on this one, right? And so all of a sudden, everything that was using AI before becomes copyright infringement. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it'd be funny.
That would be pretty shocking. Although the original paper that outlines the transformer technology that OpenAI uses was published by Google. OpenAI was just the first people to take it as far as they did, and Microsoft gave them the data centers to do it. So who gets that patent? That's difficult to say.
Jack,
Whoever can afford better lawyers, Jack. That's who gets it.
That is, yeah, fair enough.
My money's on Microsoft.
no, I think
Microsoft versus Google?
I remember when Watson went on Jeopardy. My money's on whoever gets the AI lawyers. Jack, Jack, critics, including former OpenAI employees, worry that removing profit caps and shifting money from the nonprofit to investors may be unethical and potentially illegal. Do you think there's any shakeout here in like a world in which this gets shut down? Like, I'm trying to get a sense of how much of an actual problem this is, because, you know, while I think that shareholders in America in the 21st century almost always get what they actually want, it does seem to me that there are people who are sort of, you know, blowing the whistles here saying, hey, I don't know if they're allowed to do this. But I don't know nearly as much about it. And you track it, it seems, constantly.
Yeah, it's definitely more. If you had asked me before they did this if it was legal, my instinct would have been no. But I also don't think they'd be trying if they thought it wasn't. So
I will make it legal.
I mean, if the SAG shows have taught us
attitude for a
anything,
lot of
right? It's that, like, there's no precedent over AI.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the people who would have to be involved in making something illegal or breaking down the hammer. They themselves, I have zero
That's
confidence they understand what AI is or what it can do
It's a
or what it
series of
can't
tubes.
do.
It's
Yeah,
true. If we have to
so-
explain smartphones to lawmakers, I don't know if we can explain AI to lawmakers.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to how much money is there to be made or lost by our decision, and follow the money. If there's money to be made, the lawmakers are not. If anything, they're going to cut off the consumer access to certain aspects of it while keeping certain other people, letting them do whatever they want. So
Yeah.
I have zero faith.
And, in situations like this, right? I mean, we joke about, having to explain to members of the Senate what like Instagram is, right? And good luck with that, let alone having to explain like the inner workings of an AI algorithm. But it seems like, from what I've been seeing, this move seems to be reinforcing arguments for stronger AI regulation. And I've seen a lot of advocates highlighting the risk of unregulated corporate structure. For my money, that's where the regulations need to go, right? It needs to be targeting corporate structures, not like AI algorithms, right? I don't care if you're making potatoes or if you're making robots that can think. I think that if you start your company as a nonprofit and you gain a certain amount of investment as a nonprofit, there needs to be some sort of expectation that at least a certain percentage of your business or whatever remain in that nonprofit space, right? The unethical and potentially illegal act here, right, is shifting money from the nonprofit where investors put it over to, as Jack said, the for-profit branch, which is now the whole damn company, right? And
Are they able to brand the research wing as the nonprofit wing, but the research itself then fuels what goes into the profit
that was the plan.
of the Yeah, so I mean, I think that's kind of how they have their cake and eat it too.
No,
that is how it was, but now the research division just doesn't exist.
Yeah, no,
Not
that's
as a separate legal entity.
that's an interesting question, right?
So
and I'm sure, to be honest, I mean, I don't know nearly as, like I say, there's a reason I'm targeting all these questions at Jack, because I have firm opinions and not a lot of information. But I'm sure the answer lies somewhere in, as Deepak was referencing, a year or so ago when we saw that Microsoft buyout and all that scuttlebutt going on, and them reinstating Altman at the head of the company. Like, it seems to me the bricks were probably laid for this road then. I highly doubt that they just said all of a sudden, like, hey, let's see if we can get away with it. That doesn't seem to me to be how any corporation, evil or benign, operates. But
I would also point out that today is their WWDC. Like, they just had their developer conference. So they are in the news for a lot of other stuff. So the timing of this event from a headline perspective also makes sense.
Do we know if the shareholders got a vote in this transition? Because what Riley said was true. If you're investing into a nonprofit and then that nonprofit decides to take that money, become something completely different, that is not okay. And there are rules about that. But if
you're a shareholder, you want profit. Why would you not be okay with it?
Oh, if you were investing in a nonprofit, it's your business.
Well,
you decide to invest in,
investors.
Right?
Yeah, the angel investors may have a problem. They may have given money under different auspices. But if I'm a shareholder in Microsoft and I'm getting more profit out of OpenAI,
that's what I'm saying. It's the OpenAI, because anyone that invested in that to be a nonprofit and then all of a sudden doesn't have the option to do that anymore, that's an issue, right? Like, what I'm saying is,
I would think.
Do you understand corporate structure? Get at us. Instagram, Threads, TikTok, at Nerded Here First.
No, but if the OpenAI shareholders got a chance to vote on it and then they said that was fine, then I don't see a breach of issue here. Like, I don't see any issue there if the people who invested the money get to say what they do with their own money, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that they're allowed to do that.
I mean, how does that meeting go? Hey, the money you invested in us for a nonprofit purpose, we're actually going to start making money out of it, in which case you will get a dividend. Is that okay?
Good.
That's essentially it, right? Like, because, I mean, if you're investing in a nonprofit, then you're not in it for the money, I would hope, unless you secretly hope you're going to become a millionaire off investing in a charity.
Yeah, but then the nonprofit that you started investing in became the 5th highest evaluated company in the world.
Or they knew all along that this is where the road was going.
Right. Yeah, but the point is, you can't just assume that that's what people wanted.
There does have to, right. Even if it's an obvious question, it does seem like it's a question you've got to like at least give everybody the opportunity to say, "Oh no, thank you."
It's a formality. No one's going to say no.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But it's a necessary formality, in my opinion.
But should the conversation even be allowed to happen in the first place? I don't know. Again, I think this is a story that there will be more to say over time. Jack, were there any interesting developments out of the old WWDC?
Oh, the Dev Day. What did they announce? Their new voice mode that they announced months ago. I feel like 6 months ago. Maybe last year. Maybe it was at the last Dev Day. Anyway, you can use it in your own apps and stuff. Now you don't have to do it just through their app.
Oh, interesting.
So,
any developments on Genius or anything like that?
What? I don't think so.
Wasn't that their AI thing or Copilot? Sorry, not Genius.
Oh, Microsoft. That I don't know. No, that would be from Microsoft. But hopefully soon, I'm sure.
All right.
I just want them to bring back Clippy. That's all I want.
I agree.
New smart Clippy.
Clippy should be the face of all this. Get rid of Cortana, bring Clippy, and that'll calm everything right down. When we get back, we have a lot of DC movie stuff to get through and not a lot of time to do it in. It's not quite a lightning round, but it's close.
It looks like you're trying to restructure a nonprofit. Would you like help?
You mentioned whoever has the better lawyers, and it is funny to me to imagine that they produced an AI that was like, "Yo, you guys can get away with this."
you are a shady
The AI said we can make money off of AI.
See, once we get an AI business executive, then it's all over. They're going to shut that shit down right away.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen? Well, we should. I don't want to get too off topic.
You think current corporate overlords that are already human don't care about humans? Imagine AI.
No, once the AI corporate overlord doesn't care about the human overlords are going to start caring a lot about AI rules.
Wow.
They won't have any power.
All right, and our final topic this week, we are doing DC Movie Corner. So we had a whole bunch of stories develop in the James Gunn and James Gunn adjacent DC movie spaces, and we want to talk about them. And I wanted to kick things off with Lady Gaga's Harlequin album. Gaga recorded Harlequin, a companion album to Joker Folie à Deux, inspired by her character Harley. It features jazz standards with modern twists. The album's co-produced by Ben Rice and influenced by her fiancé, Michael Polanski. It's very genre-bendy. It's got jazz, rock, avant-garde elements that all sort of reflect Harley's unpredictable nature. And Gaga incorporates both her own vocal style as well as Harley's vocal style in the album. And she said that this is the first time she had revisited doing jazz recordings since the passing of Tony Bennett. And she really felt his presence in the room with her while she was recording this album. Deepak, you've seen Joker Folie à Deux. I'll give you space to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. But in both your written review on Letterboxd and your video reaction that's up on our TikTok and our Instagram, you called out Gaga's performance as Harley Quinn as being one of the high points of it. Could you give us a little insight into that, please?
Yeah, look, the album being jazz standards makes sense because to my knowledge, and I'm not a musical expert, I don't think they have any original songs in the movie. They're all reinterpretations of standards that everyone already knows. It's curious to hear her say that she sings in a Harley style for some of the songs, because to me it felt like she was, not that she wasn't playing a character in the movie, but that she was singing the way Lady Gaga would sing, or the way that, you know, her character in A Star Is Born would sing, for example. It didn't feel like she was putting on a voice or doing any sort of different cadence beyond what was necessary in a given scene, interacting with Joaquin Phoenix. So in that sense, I don't know that, but her performance is very good. She's not in as much of the movie as you might think. I know there was some talk pre-release about, you know, Oscar consideration and would she be lead or supporting. She's very much supporting. And the movie actually does do a surprisingly good job of kind of staying true to the lore of the character in that regard. It doesn't really stay true to the lore of almost anything else Batman or Joker related. But Harley Quinn is, without delving too much into spoilers, she is a psychiatrist whose name is Harleen Quinzel and all of that.
What are you going to do?
But yeah, I mean, as far as that aspect of it, that's about all I can say.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is it good?
I think I was probably more positive on it than most people are going to be. It's a movie that is very much designed to address the backlash to the first movie. So your mileage may vary as far as what you thought of the first movie informing how you think of this one. I don't think it's going to convert anyone. I think if people didn't like the first movie, they're not going to like this one. But I think if people liked the first movie but had reservations or were just kind of in the middle about it, I think this one is an interesting take on it. My main thing is that we go through a lot of discussion here and elsewhere about how comic book movies have become kind of vanilla and they're all just sort of same old, same old. They're just kind of building blocks waiting for the next big Avengers level threat or whatever it may be. And so when people take a big swing like this, and this is a big swing, I mean, it starts with a fully animated sequence for like the first 5 minutes. Obviously, it's a musical. It does some really crazy things towards the end, including there's something that happens in the very last shot of the movie that is going to drive people nuts.
Yeah, I've seen you talk about this twice now, and I'm so curious.
I cannot wait to get the reaction from everyone about that final shot. But I would say, regardless of what you think you're going to think of it, it's worth seeing just to form an opinion.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you say that her performance is like similar to A Star Is Born, I don't think that could be a bad thing, right?
I just, in the singing sense, the characters could not be more different.
Fair enough.
Interesting.
In a lot of ways, she is the audience surrogate. She is, I think, who Todd Phillips is afraid of as far as the people who sort of lionized the first movie. She is that character.
Got it.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I like that.
All right, moving on to our next big topic here in the DC mini roundup. Matthias Schoenaerts has landed the Supergirl villain role. He will be playing Krem of the Yellow Hills, the villain that was written by a friend of this show, Tom King, in his DC Supergirls run in 2022 in Supergirl World of Tomorrow. Schoenaerts is a Caesar-winning actor who recently starred in The Regime with Kate Winslet. He also appeared in films like Red Sparrow and The Old Guard. The movie is being adapted by Anna Noriega and follows Supergirl being drawn into a conflict after Krem kills a young alien girl's father, and that's it. I'm not going to talk about anybody else she kills because of spoiler stuff. Krem is sort of a genocidal pirate character who is eventually, in the comic at least, sent to the Phantom Zone for hundreds and hundreds of years.
That rings a bell.
Craig Gillespie is directing the film. It's part of the Gods and Monsters phase of the DC universe. I wanted to just call out and remind us all that that's what this phase 1 is called, is Gods and Monsters. The film is set to begin filming. It began production in January 2024, and there's a release planned for June 26th, 2026.
It began pre-production, not production.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. And then Jack,
I have a question real quick.
Okay.
Why is it not called Creme de la Creme?
Well, yeah,
that's his brother.
Yeah, he's Creme de la Yellow Hills, and his brother is Creme. His son is Creme de la Creme. Also, House of the Dragon star Millie Alcock has been cast as Supergirl, which I think is going to be an exciting role there. I'm happy to talk to you guys as much as you want about Krem of the Yellow Hills and how he might fit into what we already know about the Supergirl movie or whatever. Pardon me, I meant the Superman movie, but yeah, of course we can also talk Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. But I'm curious, what do you guys want from a Supergirl movie that's kind of coming out bang bang like this right after a Superman movie? Do we expect it to explore the universe in a different way? Are there different things you'd like to focus on? Do we just want two super beings, punching aliens, taking names?
See, the thing about getting yet another interpretation of Superman, and this will be the third one if you count Superman Returns in less than 20 years, is that you have to try to do something different with it. I think we already know that they're going to issue the origin story. I don't think we're going to get the Krypton opening sequence again and crash landing on Earth and Ma and Pa Kent raising him. So it will be interesting to now see Superman in more of a mentor role, which is traditionally what that relationship has been. To see her be kind of the tempestuous, immature devil may care versus him being the more, hey, this is how we do things here. I think that'll be an interesting dynamic. And then if and when we inevitably introduce Batman into that equation, I have heard rumors that will now sort of be the new Trinity for this DC going forward. I don't know if that's true, but even if it's not the traditional, if it's not the traditional Trinity, at least it's something different and at least justifies the existence of this whole new take. So we'll see.
I would love to see Batman and Superman mentor a Supergirl, and just like that combination of the two characters, like doing stuff would be fun and unique to see. I have a hard time getting excited about Superman stories, just because Superman is not always super exciting thing for me, because I feel like it's you fall into like either he just like absolutely wins every time, or you just have him fighting a bigger monster. And I think the one big exception that I've seen with that is Superman versus the Elite, just because that's Superman fighting public perception and why his like way is correct versus what everyone wants him to do. And I think that is a really unique take on the Superman. And
the rumor is that the movie is very heavily influenced by that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very excited then. That's exactly the correct thing that I would think.
So instead of the Elites, it's going to be this new Justice League that they've created with Hawkgirl and Lantern and all that.
I also, and we'll get to Lantern in a second, I also want to call out that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, at least in the comics, takes place before Kara Zor-El gets to Earth. And it is an adventure that she has out in space, encountering many different alien creatures and different races and species and things like that. Now, I will say, in the comic, well, of course, we all know, don't we all know? We all know that Kara Zor-El, of course, has her super horse Comet, but Crypto the Wonder Dog also plays a significant role in the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow
10 out of 10 best character
story. And we believe we have a rumor. We believe we are seeing rumors, Deepak, I'll let you get more into it, that Crypto may at least be in the Superman film.
Yeah, Riley, you may need to fill me in on the details that I've already become hazy on, but there was some report that there was a dog on set, or there's going to be.
Yes. I mean, basically that was it. Somebody said there was a dog on set, and we were like, is it a white dog in a red cape?
Yeah. But also going back to Supergirl is that again, and we're dealing with rumors and innuendo here, so take this for what it's worth, but there has been pretty pervasive talk that Millie Alcock will make an appearance in the Superman movie. So the fact that you're saying the story that her movie is based on is more of a space set adventure, I don't know if she's going to start on Earth and then go into space, or this is going to be a prequel that ends up with her then kind of being where she is in the Superman movie. So we'll see. I kind of like not knowing where things are going. So, it makes me feel like a Warner Brothers executive.
I would actually like to see a Kryptonian without the yellow sun do some stuff, then like halfway through the movie, all of a sudden hit a yellow sun and boom. I mean, just different, just something different, right?
I'll buy that for $1. Yeah, it could be interesting. There's definitely a John Wicky sort of aspect to the Woman of Tomorrow comic book tale.
I think you mean ballerina.
Well, I know what I said, but oh, speaking of which, somebody's about to get shut down. All right, no, I'm just kidding because we're talking about dogs. Next up, oh, by the way, I did find a picture of if nothing else, here's a picture of David Corenswet's dog sitting on James Gunn's chair on Superman. So I don't know if Ira there was playing Crypto or not, but at least we had a dog on set. All right, next up, wanted to let everybody know that Kyle Chandler is in talks to play Hal Jordan in Lanterns on.
He's in. He signed.
He's in.
He's official.
Fantastic stuff. So so this was reported originally by Variety that Emmy winner Kyle Chandler was in talks, and we'll now say has done it up to star in HBO's Lantern series, playing the role of Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. We already know that that in the Superman movie there is going to be another Lantern. His name is escaping. Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner will be in the Superman movie. I don't know if we have an actor associated. Oh, great, Nathan Lane. Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Lane. Yes, Nathan Lane.
No,
sure.
Nathan Lane.
I've been wanting Nathan Fillion to play the Green Lantern for
Well, that's why
years.
I think that's where my brain went, Fred, because I was so excited for you. No, it is Nathan Fillion. Get out of here. Deepak's confusing us with his Nathan Lane.
You said Nathan Lane.
Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner.
I've been calling it. I've known this was coming.
Well, that's what
I
you
was
get
right.
That's what you get when your best friend starts running the entire universe. Is you get asked to be a character. Kyle Chandler will be playing Hal Jordan. There is also very heavy rumors that Jon Stewart will be the other Green Lantern in that TV show, and that the pair will.
I don't think that's a rumor. I think we know that. It's just a matter of who they're going to cast.
Okay, yeah, we definitely don't have any discussion of the casting there yet. But what I have read online and in this Variety piece is that the pair will be investigating a murder that takes place in the American heartlands. Whether that is a murder of an alien or a human or whatever, I think is TBD. The show is being co-written and EP'd by Chris Mundy, who did Ozarks, Damon Lindelof, who we know from such hits as Lost and Watchmen and The Leftovers. Leftovers, thank you. And comic book writer Tom King of being a friend of this show and also of, as I mentioned earlier, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow fame.
And I will throw in one little piece of news regarding Lantern as well, which is that the rumors apparently they're shying away from Hal Jordan because they are shying away in general from anything to do with Jeff Johns.
That's very interesting. Johns was assigned to be head of the creative committee over there in association with the movies for a little while, sort of asked to be one of the guys to put a handle on Zack Snyder. That did not go great. So
he was also a driving force behind, I mean, it was his version of it that became the Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yes.
I thought he was
which obviously did not.
No.
He was the what?
He Martian Manhunter. The series is going to be 8 episodes. It'll be produced by Warner's Television and DC Studios, with a straight-to-series order that went back in June, so it's definitely happening. And yeah, they're still underway for someone to play Jon Stewart, who will presumably be the Lantern in our Justice League series, should we ever get it. Do you guys have any fan casting picks? Anything you'd like to see from buddy cops in space? I mean, this thing to me feels like it's got True Detective vibes written all over it, right? Just
what about Jon Stewart?
I think, yeah, the actual Jon Stewart would be amazing. So if anyone's seen the animated movie Green Lantern First Flight, it looks like that's exactly what they're doing, except instead of Sinestro being the mentor, it's going to be Guy Gardner or Hal Jordan, or is it whatever?
Yep, yeah.
And
I feel like Hal Jordan would be the mentor in this situation. Yeah, I mean, I'm just so excited that Nathan Fillion's playing Green Lantern after
you've known that forever.
After so many years. How many times did I say it? I don't know.
I mean, technically he's played it before, just not in live.
I know. That's why I said it. Yeah, I'm on board. Deepak, I'm aware. My expectation is that he's going to die in the Superman movie. I know enough about the Green Lanterns to know that they don't designate 3 different human beings to be a Green Lantern if they don't have to. So, yeah, right.
Which means
like, what the hell is going on on Earth if they need 3 Green Lanterns?
Yeah, and the rumors that Kyle Chandler does not have a long-term deal is just for the show, so he's probably biting.
He's handing it off to Stewart. I mean, but this is the thing, right? We talked about this back with the Zack Snyder of it all, right? I think that we especially are part of a generation that came up with like the animated Justice League TV show, and Jon Stewart was the Green Lantern for folks our age that were really into these stories, right? It has been ridiculous that we haven't got a Jon Stewart film yet. I think that largely it's
Black
racism.
Panther.
Yeah, right. And I think that now that movies like Black Panther have been successful, people and not for nothing, movies like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern have been unsuccessful. I think there's more energy there to actually do it that way and do it right. I think that this TV show will hopefully, I think the TV show exists to sort of allay any executive fear so that they can point to it and be like, no, the rating's good. Now, I couldn't possibly tell you what constitutes a good rating in 2026 on a streaming app, but that's another conversation for another day. But I am excited about this one. I think it'll be good. Fred, keep your Firefly freak flag flying over there, man, because Alan Tudyk has
Firefly freak flag. Firefly freak flag.
Firefly freak flag.
Firefly.
You can't take this ring
How
away
did you do
from
that
me.
when you were sick?
Yeah, it's tough. My voice is really going. We're towards the end of the show here. Alan Tudyk, it has a quote unquote undisclosed role in Superman **. Here's the thing. We know who he's playing, kind of. So if you guys think all the way back to when James Gunn officially announced that he was like taking over the DC Mechaverse, right?
Look at me. I'm the showrunner now.
One of the things that he said was that he was going to have actors play roles in various properties across different media types, right? This had led Jack to raise a skeptical eyebrow at the notion of hiring David Corenswet to record 500 different grunts for a Superman game. But at the same time, we have a confirmed cast list for Creature Commandos, sort of the first big thing that is going to come out of the James Gunn Dream Factory. And on Creature Commandos, we have Alan Tudyk playing Dr. Phosphorus. Now, that doesn't mean, right, that that's the only character Alan Tudyk has to play in the DC universe, but I do think it puts Dr. Phosphorus high on the list of potential characters Alan Tudyk could be playing in Superman. Superman marks the official beginning of the Phase 1 Gods and Monsters, focusing on Superman's struggles to balance his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. As Deepak mentioned, it will pit him against, rumors are, a series of Justice League characters in a sort of versus the Eternals style role. Dr. Phosphorus could easily slot himself into that story. The film also features Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, and Nathan's either Fillion or Lane as Guy Gardner. Your mileage may vary. Do you guys think, I had some other characters I can throw out there if you want to discuss that Alan Tudyk could be playing. He could be the voice of Brainiac, for example. I think that's a potential, as a strong voice actor, I think that's the thing I could see.
Has he done Brainiac before?
I don't know.
No, but going off of what you're saying, Riley, I think the fact that they said it's an undisclosed role means it's not going to be Phosphorus. It's going to be a voice role. It's going to be either he is the disembodied voice in the Fortress of Solitude of Jor-El, or he's going to be, like you're saying, Brainiac or Mr. Mapixik, or however you say that.
Mxyzptlk was on my list of fits his energy really well.
He's gonna. My favorite Alan Tudyk role, or at least the one that introduced me to him, is he's Sonny the robot in iRobot.
Yep.
So he has the voice actor mocap history. If he was to do Parasite or something like that, that's an option.
Or just like you say, not even Jor-El, but just sort of the computer assistant in the Fortress of Solitude. It could end up being something very lame, but it could also end up being something pretty cool.
He could be voicing Crypto for all we know. We don't know.
Woof woof.
Yeah. And Gunn is known for he uses Sean Gunn in multiple capacities throughout the Guardians movies. He obviously likes to cast Nathan Fillion and a lot of stuff. So I think he's just finding ways to slot friends in wherever possible. And regarding what you said about Superman versus the Justice League, I don't know that it's going to, I think they will skirmish, but the set leaks seem to have confirmed that the villain is, what's the name? I don't forget the name of the character, but Luthor creates kind of the anti-Superman.
Bizarro?
I'm forgetting. Yes, but there's another name for him. It's not Mr. Negative, but it's sort of in that vein.
Oh. Yes, no. The kryptonite powered one.
Correct.
Yeah.
The robot one, right?
Yes.
He's in the Injustice games.
I have a toy of him. I'm
totally blanking. I'm so bad on names today.
Lex Luthor created a Lois Lane sex robot for himself. I don't need that.
Gross.
What the hell are you looking at?
Metallo. That one?
Metallo. That's the one. Yep. That's the one.
All right. Well, we'll see. Could be any of those. Could be all of them.
Yeah, he's a leaf on the wind, right? I would like to see him do more face acting work just because I enjoy him and I think he's fun. But no, he'll do any voice. Has he not done?
Alan Tudyk will do anything. That man is so
Alan Tudyk will be on this podcast by tomorrow if we call him. He is busy. All right, the final.
No, I enjoyed it though. I like it.
The final story I wanted to throw in the DC pile that I just thought was sort of fun was that Batman got a star on the Walk of Fame. He was honored with a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, marking him as the first superhero to receive the recognition. By the way, we can officially say superhero on this podcast now because the DC Marvel co-held copyright on that word has expired. Stars on the Walk of Fame are administered by the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce and are historically paid for to maintain by the person whose name is on them. I assume Warner's or DC Comics or someone will pay for this. It's the two.
Yeah, they'll use that Bill Finger and Bob Kane money.
Yeah, all that money
I
didn't give Bill Finger.
The weird thing is, I actually heard that a prominent billionaire, Bruce Wayne, is going to be paying for this.
He's a nice guy. He does a lot of philanthropic work. It is the 2,790th star to be awarded following the unveiling of the first star in 1958. And it highlights Batman's long history since his debut in the 1939 issue of Detective Comics. Batman did not previously have a star on the Walk of Fame, but Adam West, Burt Ward, Bob Kane all have been recognized on the Walk of Fame. Bob Kane can go fuck himself. Also, Batman is also set for a new movie coming up. We're getting Absolute Batman #1, the comic book, on October 9th this month. And there's the Batman Caped Crusader show on Amazon that is going right now and will probably get renewed for season 2. Penguin live action on HBO, the Pattinson 2 movie at some point, and rumors continuing to swirl that Glenn Powell will be the next to don the cowl in the Gunniverse. Any Batman stuff that you guys want to talk about? Deepak doesn't seem pleased about a blonde Bruce Wayne, despite his love for the Daniel Craig.
No, it's not that he's blonde. I just think he's too cheerful. Penguin show is really good. I had my doubts about how it would turn out, but 2 episodes in, it's firing on all cylinders, and the cast is great. Kristen Milioti really deserves a lot of praise. I think
she's killing it.
She's unbelievable in it, and she doesn't look anything like Sophia Falcone because she's way too good looking. But the way they've done her hair, and of course the essence of her performance is incredible. She really brings out that character. Farrell, of course, is also knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, he's amazing.
My favorite thing is showing people the Batman and telling them, "Hey, that's Colin Farrell."
Well, now you're going to have 8 hours of a television show you can do that to them with, Fred. It's incredible. The first scene of Penguin. Oh man, now I am really starting to go. The first scene of Penguin, in my opinion,
So close.
was just like such a good mission statement for that movie. There's sort of this like little 3-minute like previously in the Batman universe you've got to get past, but the actual first like scene of substance between Colin Farrell and another character in the show.
In the lounge,
where it's Alfonso. It is Alfonso Falcone. Alfonso Falcone's son Alberto, and he's talking about, do you think I could be as powerful as my dad? And Cobblepot sort of says, yeah, if you wanted to, but then Oz Cobb, but then lays out this other path that he could take and talks about the small time
parade float.
Right. He talks about this small time crook from a neighborhood where Cobblepot's from and how people in that town threw that man a parade when he died. But the obvious problem here is that Falcone, the younger, lacks the ambition of his father or even of the Penguin, and so doesn't realize what we all know about Penguin, that he is going to be that man for all of Gotham, right? He doesn't want to be some small-time crook that is remembered because of a neighborhood. He wants everyone in this city to kiss the ring, and he knows that is eventually possible. And just like the mission statement that first scene puts up there, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be a good show. Yeah.
One last note about Penguin is that it's very R-rated.
Oh, yeah.
The movie pushes PG-13 as far as it can go, but the show has enough profanity and even nudity and stuff, and of course violence.
Yeah, some pretty graphic violence. Most of the first episode we are carrying around and or chopping up a body. Like it's but I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Caped Crusader I enjoyed just fine. I thought was like, but there's just so much Batman stuff out there right now. You know, like it's a little bit embarrassment of riches. I mean, especially when so much of it is good, right? Like, try as he might, David Zaslav cannot deny us good Batman material.
I'm sure he's done his best.
Yeah. All right. We are going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to wrap things up with pop culture recommendations. See you in a minute. Welcome back. Thanks for hanging around. Before we get out of here, we want to remind you that you can head to NIHF.com to subscribe to everything we do for free, or YouTube.com/NerdItHereFirst to get all of our video episodes delivered straight to your YouTube feed. You can also follow us on the socials, wherever you prefer, at Nerd It Here First, to see all of the fantastic stuff we have going on and make sure you never miss a thing. Now, it is time for our pop culture recommendations, the stuff you guys really hang around for. These are the things we've been watching, reading, eating, playing, or listening to that we've enjoyed recently, and we think you'll enjoy too. And because I feel like I know what he's going to say, I want to start with Fred.
Yeah, so I've been playing a little game called Space Marine 2. So I'm gonna say one thing really quick that most of you might not expect. I don't think Space Marine 2 is a great game for people that don't already know a lot about the Warhammer 40k universe. I think it's a very fun game. I think everyone would enjoy it. I think a lot of the main beats get kind of lost on people that don't specifically know some named characters that show up. That being said, I do know those named characters, and I've loved the game. I think it's great, and I'm having an awesome time. But so that is just my one little caveat on the game. It's a ton of fun. It's very old school Gears of War kind of a thing. Very visceral, very blood and guts. Tearing people open with chainsaws is super fun, and I recommend it to all of you. But I think the main story game does get lost on people that might not understand how cool a Dreadnought is or who Marnius Calgar is. And I don't think it's a problem with the game. I think it just leans very heavily into the lore, and there's a lot of lore in that universe. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Jackson, why don't you go, and I'll take whichever of the 2 things I want to say you don't say.
Well, I believe I'm still the only person who has seen The Substance, which has been all I've been thinking about for a while. It's a pretty nutty movie. It is a pretty upsetting film for a lot of reasons. So on the off chance, and I don't want to spoil too much of it, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But I did also want to shout out the what are they called? Sorry, I should have looked this up beforehand.
That's fine.
Orion, I think. Yeah. If you have not seen it yet, Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, they showed off a would-be product called Orion. These are a pair of augmented reality glasses that are sort of the closest we've ever seen to the actual dream version of this product. They look like a pair of Ray-Bans that are like a little thicker than normal, but generally unobstructive, and display windows in your face and let you interact with them. It's sort of the dream product. Unfortunately, they stopped developing it because they determined it would be too expensive to put to market. But I really think that these products are going to show up. I think this is what Apple has spent like 5 years doing at least. So if you want to see what maybe the future of the Vision Pro and a lot of other tech companies might look like, look up the Meta Orion glasses. And
has Apple totally pulled the Vision Pro off the market now?
No, not at all. I think you can still buy it. It's been not selling well, but they always knew it was not going to.
Deepak?
My pop culture recommendations were going to be things that I've already talked about today. So it was going to be the Penguin Show and the Joker Folie à Deux, which is dropping at the end of the week as of this recording. Like I said, I'd recommend seeing it regardless of where you may end up coming down on it. I think it's worth seeing just to form the opinion and have the conversation. And Penguin is still 2 episodes in out of, I think, what's going to be 8. So if you have Max, definitely worth checking out. Again, just, the movie was PG-13, so don't think that you could watch it with your kids necessarily, but well worth your time.
All right, and I'll plug 2 things real quick if we're all getting in on the 2 for train. I assume Fred also thinks you should play Space Marines 1, after all.
Well, Space Marine is important to understand Lord Splatoon 2. So yeah, no, double check. It's not. It's an old game. It should be pretty cheap right now.
There you go. I will plug something you've heard Jack plug in this segment many times before. Balatro, an amazing game that is now available on any screen you choose to play it on. If you have Apple Arcade, you can get it for free. If you don't, you can get it for $10 from the Apple Store. You can also download it from the developer website. It's on Steam. It's everywhere. It is on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It is a sort of poker-esque game where you are dealt a hand of cards, and you have to make a series of hands to score points, but you use jokers and tarot cards and other enhancement cards to amplify the power of different hands you play as you go. Really, the only poker knowledge required is to know like what two pair is or whatever. It's not like
even then, no hand hold you through those parts.
Yeah, right. It's not actually like playing poker, but you are putting together poker hands to play the game, and it's really, really fun. It's astonishingly addictive, and I've crushed hours and hours and hours into it since I got it on Steam back in the spring, and now it's available on mobile. So that was really why I wanted to plug that. Another video game Jack has got me thoroughly obsessed with is Astrobots. Another high contender for my game of the year. He's
a little guy.
This Mario 64-esque, hold for more info on that front coming soon to this platform. This Mario 64-esque game involves you being a cute little robot guy and running around beautifully designed worlds to save other cute little robot guys.
Some of them are dressed as PlayStation mascots.
And some of them are fantastic PlayStation mascots like Lara Croft or Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, fun.
Or a soccer ball or whatever. Yeah. So it's the what did they call him? Boy Dad is how they
Dad of Boy.
Dad of Boy.
Dad of War.
Yeah, it's very, very fun, but it's also made on top of a platform that was already designed for a different sort of like tech demo for PlayStation. So like every single platform or like surface you walk on has a different vibration and a different noise that come out of the controller. The way you interact with things, like all of the stuff has different reverberations in the remote. It's all just a ton of fun, and it's a beautiful world, and I've really enjoyed just running around there saving my great little boys. This has been Nerd It Here Weekly. Thank you so much for listening and or watching to the show. Remember, you can catch our beautiful faces on YouTube and at the website, NIHF.com. The producer of this show is Bruno Meneses. It's hosted by me, Riley Trahan. My co-hosts are Deepak Jutnas, Fred Neighbor, and Jackson Trahan. Our art is by Wiki Rascals. Our music is by Purple Planet. And you can get us on social media, which is run by Sterling Haynes, at Nerd It Here First on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, LinkedIn, where I meant Letterboxd. We don't have a LinkedIn. Don't look for us there.
ZipRecruiter.
Yeah, wherever you want to find
on LinkedIn.
And as always, don't forget to tune in next week to hear.
We did it.